Shonamji, Drola, Venja, Sanji, Drupur, Shu, Sanji, Chunan, Zodi, Chunamna, Janju, Pardo, Dane, Jasoshi. Dagi, Jinsu, Yebe, Zonamji, Drola, Venja, Sanji, Drupur, Shu, Sanji, Chunan, Zodi, Chunamna, Janju, Pardo, Dane, Jasoshi, Dagi, Jinsu, Yebe, Zonamji, Drola, Venja, Sanji, Drupur, Shu. 동년 인지 중도 주변에 지지 선생 같은 데는 참아도 뭐 띵띵 저절로 수반도 조심도 점점 수록은 없다위미 계산 타본 레뷰 중에 제외 규베 타변 잡아야 선지 신이 되라 찾아 In the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly, I take refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood for all the sentient beings. Yeah, so now I think we are on the verse number 59. Is that right? Right? Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah.
So here we have to recall the previous the class that I talked a bit about the evolution. How does this aversion comes to us, or anger? The reason is the main reason is they hurt me. He hurt me or she hurt me. That's the biggest reason. But the way how it hurts, indirect, like directly, it is because of the how do you translate nyeba? Nyeba da kutida.
Kutida nyeba.
Nyeba.
Material gain or gain or material.
The material gain. Maybe somebody cut your salary down. Maybe they have taken your money, and maybe they didn't return your money back, right? They lent the borrow that they lent money, they borrowed, I lent, right? They borrow money from, right? They borrow money and they haven't returned it yet. So how dare he can do this, right? Those type of things. And then in the public, he really looked down on me and said so many bad things, even it's not true, and bring a shame on me. All those things. Indirectly, directly what you say is something like they hurt me, but it just some kind of indirect or something, they did something that you have, if I can say, something that you're clinged to, right? So and then automatically that clinging, it is, if we try to look down at it, that's not other than the attachment itself. Something you are so attached that you couldn't let it go. You cannot forgive that person. Why? and then look at the Shantideva's reason. There are so many many big reasons that you can forgive, but then somehow you can't because it is really hurting your ego or the attachment or the clinging towards yourself. That we have to know, but it's really difficult to say that to other person. You can say from your mouth to others saying, I cannot forgive that person because he hurt me. But then after that, if your friend is a really Dharma friend and he really wants to dig your kind of a mess or the garbage out from you, and then say, okay, you cannot forgive him, he hurt you, but you can't, because are you sure that it's not because you love yourself so much, you're so attached to this ego, then that we will become so personal. Isn't that right? Could be. The most Shantideva is kind of 100% sure about that, it looks like. But now let's look at that. So here, why verse number 59 is talking about all the wealth and the name, the frame that we have gained in this life, that if somebody says or hurt you or maybe give you
kind of like criticize, cast fault on you, or criticize.
경당바 means like the defeat.
Yeah, you rang lagoon lengi. Yeah, puts the fault on, puts the blame on you, puts the fault on
that puts puts the blame or the fault on you. Yeah. Then why you are so hurt? Because you are clinged, or you have this attachment towards this, which you really feel like this is mine, this is my name. It will bring kind of criticism in towards my name, frame, or my wealth, anything. So Shantideva here in the verse number 59, it is saying that for how long are you going to cling? This is a really good teaching. The 59, let's read together. The nyeba mangbo topjul the yurin duzu be jejang chunbe choba jishin the dreme lakwa tongbor do so demo. Okay, 59, please.
Although I may live happily for a long time, through obtaining a great deal of material wealth, I shall go forth empty-handed and destitute, just like having been robbed by a thief.
Distributes na kare dirbe.
Destitute is he's using the
word
demo, but it can mean like you go naked or destitute.
Oh, okay. This is
nothing.
good.
Yeah, to have nothing left.
Dirisha. Is the 제가 ranzu chakchen gesegi shidilaya tadi chak kondo sayegi tsawa kondo sayegi tuksum 시쟁아 주 shebanashi tuksum 기나로네 당아라도 당보디 되차샤 되네 샤당 되네 디문 수치지 디숨숨도와 내숨 금진 rimba tikdaan di tsaashimbo shibi reisangbo rimba nyamlimba chigla yaas kongpa shidaan di. Una shina thangbo thongma kesa di marigwa teni docha li kene shidaan shiyunguli di thangbo docha tsawar shaadamba. Docha di shitamji zawal shangwa. Ko ratche debuyorwa docha di. Dan docha di ngane shedan jingwa. Chedan niba di shadan di yagudwa. Tadi indu zambi docha dan ane shedan di nibu di ane kawala chungni chiba di tangri maado lamsang anzu timuni yungu yobate lamsang ra sutik ra chugu maare. Di indu zambi docha dan shedan ni pangdo shuk chunggu chi lewe kalu ane shine. Tadi ane kawani kebare situ ane shamba kawani yongsa yo maata timu rang dinzin da tangzin den kikore cheche di hakoye chedo ane timu di sumbol songwa. 제장가 도차 탐고를 시에지 도차를 때니 시간 기기어스 니타 쇼고도 도차 메나 시간에 탑 도차 유나 시간 기획 규비죠 시간 기획이 되고 이렇게 말봐 네 어디다 디시드 제장이 아주 녀마 진짜나로야 디케제 좀 그래 남규 미국도 친구 니 진짜 지고 지어래 코란스 등할 가르치기요래 아 대샤슈 좀 민도스 이나야 아 아니 콘트슈 좀 비시도 당한 콘트리아 님이다고도사 니에서는 제가 콘트슈 좀 비나 니 대차 님이 먹건발라 콘트리아 견따에 또 가고 이러스 가전스나 shedangi 아니 자왕 디 계지 유델이야 대차 레도바스 달라 차베 다 차들레도스 그런 춘에 나와만 줘서 알아라 차가 요스는 나와 주는 조금 두사 되니 뭐지 아주 진짜기 님디 니 계제 중차네 아니 니마 나 주시说了 아니 경기 당원에 전에 차가 쇼침부 미 가자 shedan 쇼침부라 차가 쇼침부 유버 두고에 싸워니는 민두스 콘도 사데 알아라 시비지 가위 치려나 패전 따다 데서리스 하고 정말
콘도 시침부 사비나 아니
콘도 시침부 유교기 메델라야 그러봐 고 도차 여바디 믹스 두고에 민두스 그러잖으나 콘도 사니기 미디 가두이네 고 발전스나 금전 창화 말을 찍지마서 많이 찍지마서 랍디기 여봐 계산가 되게 코랑칸에 튕기도 왔어 디송도 얘기 진짜 찍고 되게 강에 코랑 강에 알마도 스타기도 개무셔지 딱 뒤뒤가 터버려 어디 딩년이 줄다
and so so here when we think about let's say the objects which give rise to our attachment, and then there's with anger and stuff. So if you take it in relation to the three kind of afflictive poisons, and usually the best way to sort of engage with them is to go in the sequence of attachment, then anger or aversion, and then delusion. Team up with delusion, and it's the reason if we state it in this sequence, because usually the sequence that is stated in terms of causal relationship is that the delusion or ignorance comes first, and then comes attachment, and then comes anger. But by stating it in this order, where we have attachment first, aversion second, and then the delusion or ignorance third, there's a very important background reason why we think of it like this, because because here what we look at, the root of the anger is actually attachment. The root of anger is attachment, and and attachment is very easy for us to kind of. It's kind of very easy for us to identify, and so so later on, so the best way is stated in this way so that it's easy for us to engage with the idea of attachment, then anger, and later on we will ask, well, where do attachment and anger come from? And then it's not easy for us to immediately identify that attachment and anger essentially arise out of ignorance or delusion. That's a kind of later process. So when we start searching for the answer to what is the root of attachment and anger, and then we come to the sense of the delusion underpinning it later on. So it's given in that way, so the attachment leading to anger then, and stating the delusion as a second, is a way of leading us, helping us to understand that the behind all of those later on is the self-grasping, the grasping at true existence, and the self-grasping, and that so it sort of leads us in that sequence. If there's it's very important to understand. We have to have a very conclusively understand how anger arises out of attachment. If there's no attachment, no anger will arise. If attachment is present, then we automatically have the cause. The cause is there present for anger to arise. And we in a class when I was previously when I was studying, there was a person who was in the same class as me, and he said, "Oh, I don't have." He was sort of stated that I don't have very strong attachment, but I do have strong anger. He said that's how he felt. That's what he felt about himself, and so he was sort of thinking. So the best way for him to sort of develop was to start looking at the faults of anger. But I actually sort of kind of debated with him and sort of said that actually you should be, first of all, before you start looking at the faults and disadvantages of anger, you should be looking at the faults and disadvantages of attachment, because it's attachment which is underpinning the anger, and the reason that attachment underpins anger is like kind of like the root of anger is because attachment here, what we're very specifically talking about is kind of attachment to oneself. And so he hadn't really thought of it like that. He hadn't thought of it in terms of attachment, that anger was actually driven by attachment to himself. And so later on in the class, we discussed this sense of how strong anger, strong attachment brings about the anger. There was a kind of discussion about all of this, and a very clear reason. And so we sort of debated this a little bit, and I sort of explained that a very clear reason is that attachment is when we get angry, we're always saying we can show that it's underpinned by attachment to the self, because we're always saying this happened to me. They did this to me. This person said this to me. They did this to me. So there's always this sense of me or I, which is behind it, behind any of the statements we make about the things that have caused us to get angry. There's these kind of statements. So that's automatically what very naturally comes out of our mouths. And this shows us that's what comes out. That's what we say when we get angry. So this very clearly we don't have to go far. This very clearly reveals to us that attachment is a kind of underpinning all of the anger. And so I think I probably defeated him in the debate there after we discussed it for some time.
디리샤 다 예보만 부터규도 유령도서 대제경 준비 초과 지신도 되면로 보통 그렇고. So then automatically when we have this clinging, cannot let it go. So that then meditation on the impermanence is the only solution here at the moment. So then we have to think for how long are we going to cling on? Is it worth clinging on in this life? Then if we have to let it go, including our this body and the way of thinking in this life, all the appearances in this life. But then if we have to let it go, so then Shantideva already said, maybe it will come up later, saying that we have to leave everything and give away, even you don't wish to. And then why not, even knowing this, then why not give up for a very good reason? When we have control in our hand, our way of thinking, our body, to use this for better purpose. Otherwise, you will think like, I cannot let it go. Then one day, even you wish or not, the reality is that you have to let it go anyway. So that is a really good teaching. So Shantideva here is looking into the anchor, and then he's trying to put the dot on the attachment there to dig in, and then bring this is all about the clinging. And then once he wants to talk about the clinging, that's not other than the attachment there. So then he talks about this in 59. Okay. 59. 59 전에 60를 봐. 레디션 좀 개den예베 순주나 딕스 소남 차셔나 예베도 trojuno 소남 시티 민주람 60 please.
Surely material wealth will enable me to live, and then I shall be able to consume transgressions and do good. But if I am angry on account of it, will not my merit be consumed and transgressions increase?
Now here, this we have to ask ourselves. Many of us, especially the practitioners, especially the title holders, lay people, not much a big problem, but then people who have the title of Rinpoche, or monks or nuns, or those people who have given to serve the rest of in their life into the practice. So those people, especially those people, we will say or act like we have given up the kind of a samsaric life. But very tricky is we feel like we need this to survive, to do a Dharma practice, and so on. But Shantideva is really here, just really going very directly at our kind of into our heart, saying, if now maybe I will say that in a Tibetan much better. 제상가 안주 아니 nie바당 호쿠르디당 밍당 근데 간대지 뒤로 탐지 아니 뒤로 가서 그래 당내 뒤로 당내 잡을 꽤미두스 뒤로 당내스나 뒤로리아 아니 지기 표시해봐 롱스 이나 꽤미두 가져서나 뒤로 땡시에 가서 최집에 튕긴 쪽도 와스 그봐 민야고주나 최지에 핑거도 균노변조 야고주나 최지에 펜도도 제장가 디인도 균노변조디 당 명당도 소대 다고야고 잡고도 마도 에 최고 최투면 누스지 듬젠딜라베이나스 때 챈디데베는 가르쳐샤 지나 예배 된도 최교나 소놈 시디 미주람 수초당도 계란 최지기 튕긴 지인세 디기 튕긴 디기 결혼이야 뇌계지 뇌계 가르스나 콘두기 주차나 결혼 뇌계 버바스 냠는들 뇌계 버바스 제장가 최지비 콘두기 주체바 콘두기바다 차고기비 주체나스 최지비 튕긴 디기 초와페비 주 콘두기 주체바다 차고페비 주체비나 엔큐랑기 계좌 당보디 가르라버스나 튕긴 야고지 중바다 민 야고지 중부이나 또 야고도 와디 튕긴 야보다 민 야고지 여비이나 마취지를 핑규도 세야당 개와 딱딱 들어서왔다. 어디 인도산배 민주람 세디 수수수수 저당 기지리 미션벌 기지리 기지 말아 민주람 스타 소소 티고래 수고라 디하고도 와 어디 중에 좀
And so so in these verses as it says in the first line surely material wealth will enable me to live and then I'll be able to consume transgressions and do good. So it's you know, so what the question is, the question that the person is asking here is surely don't I need to sort of take up, use and enjoy all of these things such as profit, fame, respect, good name, wealth, all of these things. Surely it's no problem to enjoy them and to use them, that there's no fault in doing that as long as I'm using them in order to develop and practice the Dharma, develop my Dharma practice, then surely you know, things like wealth and reputation, etc. They will sort of be conducive conditions. They will support me in my Dharma practice. That's the question that's being asked. But then in the second two lines of verse 60, it says, "But if I am angry on account of it, will not my merit be consumed and transgressions increase?" So actually, you can also add in attachment here. So if on account of this material, the material wealth, fame, etc., attachment or the causes of attachment, if those become a cause of attachment, if those become a cause of anger, then previously, in the way that we're asking the question, we're stating it in the way like taking those as conducive conditions, enjoying conducive conditions in order to practice the Dharma. But actually what you'll have done if those become the causes of anger or attachment is you've actually you know, you're saying if the conducive conditions will help me to practice, but then actually what you've done is turned it into the complete opposite of that, where you know that you've turned it into the causes of anger and attachment, and which are the complete opposite of conducive conditions for practicing the Dharma. So this is and then it's at the last time when it says, "Will not my merit be consumed and transgressions increase?" This is a question that we have to ask ourselves. You don't go asking other people this question. This is a self-referential question to oneself about will not the merit and transgressions increase? So that's, we ask ourselves that question in relation to enjoy our thought that we could enjoy wealth, name, etc. to help practice the Dharma.
So here Shantideva is telling us to always bring the awareness, whether you have when you hold the position of saying or thinking that in order to do the Dharma practice well, I need a good reputation to help others, and then I need wealth to support myself, money to support myself. So all these things, what you have to hold the positions, as you have said, that are you doing the same as what you have said and made the commitment? So that's a really good one. Now the 61 강기 된도 다선바 디니 게데 냠주는 디고 버시 쳐봐 예 선바 대고 지시차스 그래서
In what use will be the life of one who only commits wrongdoing, if for the sake of material gain, one causes the merits needed for life to degenerate?
Now here we have to think very carefully. Now, normally we ask so many questions about what is the purpose of my life. So here, once if you are on a path of Bodhisattva's way, and then the reason, on one reason, to get a fully enlightenment, to benefit all the sentient beings. That's our commitment. Quite a tough one to know this kind of purpose. Sometimes I also get confused. It's a difficult one. But actually, it is all about believing. I mostly, when I think like this, it is really helping me. If we could think like, what are you capable of? And what is your ability? If you feel like my ability is to know the emptiness and get out of the suffering, then here, get out of the samsara, you feel this is my ability. But then Buddha always reminds us, this is the only kind of halfway, but you haven't used all your energy, that you can do something more, and which is also
your potential. You haven't used your full potential.
The potential. So this we have to always remember when we talk about compassion, when we talk about renunciation. This we have to remember that it is only talking about you, or it can be for a very big purpose, right? For that reason, if you could really kind of trust in yourself that you can do so much more, and then this verse number 61 automatically will, when anger comes up, then you will feel like I'm losing my purpose, because my purpose is to benefit all the sentient beings and to use all my energy to help out there. So if I start destroying myself, that I can help others, then in English, how do they say? What use will be the life of one who only committed if for the sake of the material gain? Adinarola. 관계 전도 다 봤어.
He's turned it around. So for lines 3 and 4 are lines 1 and 2 in the Tibetan, and lines 1 and 2 in the English are lines 3 and 4 in the Tibetan.
He's a course. 디나를 디 된다디 가발도. 관계 전도 다 봤어. 디치디. 관계 전도. Which one?
That's the first line. What use will be the life?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what he's.
디 식디 디 나로래 디 리기 두게 단다
아.
인지 디ran 인지의 비니가 야 버봐 자장가 아 가리기 된도 다 심부로 내봐디 아 가리쳐도 초대야지 아 가리쳐도 단다 alive 임바디
Stay alive.
디 나로래 식디 what use will be the life lana 체디직 세지마도 강요된도 다 심부로 돼야지 세 디식디 피 인지나로래 디 세부 등도
Yeah, so I'm raising the doubt that I think that in the English, when the line in the English which says that what use will be the life, doesn't really capture what's said in the Tibetan. It says kangi dundu daksumba. So it means more like for whatever is the purpose that we're remaining alive or living for. What is the thing that we're living for? What is the purpose that we're living for? So it has a little bit more that meaning. Which I think is slightly different from what's being used when it says, and what use will be the life. It's more like for whatever purpose I'm living for and staying alive for. It's more like that.
I think that will be much more stronger. 강교도도 다 전티니 냠버 주베 다 냠당디 엉아란주기 다 콘트로디기 계속 좀 단도 삼당고도 콘트로디기 계속 좀 단지 체디기 녀려야 삼도 샴파 땅고미도 깨와니 깨와세도 삼당 녀려야 콘트로디기 체 다가랑려야 아니 안저 지기 미념도 저와 컨디스 매버차기도 양 저와직 튜비나 양 몽팔라야 나자디기 디르와 셈 딩나로라디 안 단도양 퀸셈세고르베 셈 술라 단도 하디기도 나자 어디기 가지고 가수지기 몽팔레 가지고야 저와 첨부 차비나 양고 세컨 카시시 나로라 디 맵수도 디 인도 잠베타 디기 깨와 데마세 다 깨와 자단 깨와 동세에 주버로야 저와 디 나자디 다 콜하라고 왔다 제장가 딘디지 아주 콘도 사용도 게자함 산지유 코반라야 다른으로 땅그리 있으려나 다디 전주 셈바질 답에 아주 마선네 답에 헌터야 the worst 답에 news the headline 답 차고요다 땅 안줄 단다 믹스 말레디 가르장 아주 전주 셈이야 쪼와다 셈진스 뒤에 셈 딩네베 가와제디요 말와 어디기 간예진 스레 삼삼도 Well, starting nada.
And so it talks about in the last line. It says talks about one causes the merits needed for life to degenerate. So what this really means is in the sense of when we're talking about the sort of method, the way that things degenerate, we're talking about when anger develops in us, and then this destroying the roots of and anger destroying the roots of virtue. So this disease, this mental disease, this disease in our mind of anger destroying the roots of virtue. And so, if you just took that in this life, where in the way that anger is able to very easily destroy relationships which had previously formed and to sort of tear those relationships apart just in this life. But then we also have this kind of even if the anger subsides, you have this often have this kind of leftover mental disease of resentment, which means that even if relationships come back together again or reform, that it's very easy for them with a slight cause to be able to collapse again. And so, and that is thinking essentially in relation to this life, but then if we think about not only in this life, but as is talked about in the text, in hundreds of lives, where this mental disease of sort of aversion and anger causes the destruction of the roots of virtue, but it also is it's said to push back in terms of obtaining the completely enlightened state of Buddhahood. It pushes it further away from us. It takes us longer to achieve, and for for if you're a practitioner, a bodhisattva, or a practitioner of the bodhisattva's way of life, then this is like the shock headline news, is that the enlightenment has been pushed much further away from us. And so this is sort of so that's how it's the anger which is causing that's how the anger causes the merit to generate, as it says in the last line.
Voilà, so. That to rini ba 62. 62 right okay. Keti simjin nyam jebi minye mala choshena shen la minye jolang kyo dijin chidi chomiches 62 please.
Surely I should be angry with those who say unpleasant things that weaken other beings' confidence in me. In the same way, why am I not angry with people who say unpleasant things about others?
Okay. Do you feel this reason quite accurate, or that's like why Shantideva is mixing these two reasons? 다딜이야 친이 흉나는 송교티 디아고요 봐. 제정가 다고용도 봐. 알라 nga kondo sago kimzen kharesna ko dugja la wechir robina ko dugja lamna kyo kondo sago ata lana ani gogu mares ani shen la ya ko dugja la du nga kondo sago gumidus kajensna shen la dugja la weti ngal ni kenu ngal dugja la yeti ngal ni udus juje dimoto joye yamarba 다 좀제 디마도 미도 아니 샌디티비 당 아주 추다 나올 거라고 그러잖아. 다 거라잖아. 좀be 미니엄버 저버디 교란이야 두자 라바다 미니엄버 저버디기 교란을 고 좀 샌디 조 교란기 나도 좀be 등신을 투샷어. 그 두어 라바 dimsen지기 교초렘 두스. 어디 셴리아 라본도 좀be 두자 라바리디 소소 마가와 차요 말 가전스나 셴당아 신이디 축두바 셴시도 피게여바 축두바 직 피게 아니 마시도 축두베 소소리야 tuktuk디온데 잠베 축두베 다다 셴니 삼로 땅원데 잠베 아니 직 피게도 직 추종할도 시집에 세부시베지게 차신 배 캡친 부시 하러 봐. 다 딘디지 매베 있나스 걸. 딘디지 매베 있나? 아니 아시도 추두버랑지 깨지 매지 시에베나. 아니 두자지 라브나. 아니 콘도 사고레 슬람나. 아니 셴르 두자 람네요. 콘도 사고레 슬람나. 아니 겸전 딱다 더블스. 가전스나 수두빙아 깨지 시에서요. 두자 람나 콘도 사고와 다 슬람나. 아니 더 람나. 아니 셴라 두자 람도 소소 콘도 사고와 다 슬라디. 더 라고니 선루지요레. 지난 셴디디비 단다디 계속 좀 쉬어라. 좀 도단디. 제단가 지단에 아주 직된디 나로라야 미 셴발 두자 람는 소소 콘도 사고야 케민두. 소소로 두자 람는 소소 콘도 사고그레 티케제트리. 다 디 계속 좀 쉬어라게 디 가르치는 주주버디 자랑도 수도 수두빙아라마다 수두비 아니 셴 제제 축축부지 삼다운드 안드 레잉고요레스 근데 수두비경아 세야도 수두비 셴세 깨제셔서 매비이나 아니 셴라 콘도 셴라야 두자람나 소소 콘도 사고야 랑라야 두자람나 콘도 사모고와이나 셴라야 지기 가서래 두자람나 콘도 사모고야 독시르고 지기지기지냥 두고도스 네 라베디 사면
Yeah.
캔소아 알았어 다디 직도나 알았어
And so I'd like to sort of connect this with the sort of way, the sort of method that we proceed with in the sort of debate traditions and texts, where we sort of posit a sign or posit a proof or a reason for a thesis. And so if we ask the question, why do we get angry, and then the response is that because let's say they said unpleasant things towards me, so I got angry because they said unpleasant things to me. And so then you'll investigate this by debating with them and say, do you really, just because they said bad things, just because bad things were said, do you have to get angry? Do you, just because somebody says bad things, do you have to get angry? And you'll reply, you say, well, it doesn't have to, just because bad things were said to someone doesn't mean that you have to get, does it mean that you have to get angry? And if you, so if you say, because nala tukche labiche se de keje mebeche tukche labiche
mebeche dilagundwa dujalabchir dujalana kondosa kwata jishir komare kachinsana aldo jamalabchir dilawo suleworwa
so the sign is, you have to be a little bit careful with how the syllogism is constructed. It says that I need to get angry because bad things were said. If that's so, we leave it at that. So then you said, do you need to get angry? Is it necessary to get angry because bad things are said? And they say, oh, no, that's not necessary. If they agree to that, then you can say, well, then when others, when somebody says bad things to other people, then therefore you would need to get angry, because if you accept the provision that if bad things were, somebody has bad things said to them, anger needs to arise, then so this would be so you don't actually accept the provision. So then we say, well, why is it that you don't accept the provision? And they say, well, because they said bad things to me, it harmed me. And so this is, if we sort of work within the sort of debate, take these reasons around inside the debate system, then the person is saying because it harms me that therefore I have to get angry. That's the answer that it's coming down to. But if it's just on the basis of the harsh words, then so when you say that it harms me, the harsh words are harming me, that's why I have to get angry, then this is sort of driving into the sense of when we dig deeper down into this, what we're saying is that this is connecting with our strong sense of self-grasping. And so there's this strong sense of self-grasping and this strong sense in which oneself, and then oneself as a category and others as a category are sort of self-instituting, kind of almost independent, self-instituting, kind of concrete or solid sense of oneself and of others, so that we in having that strong sense of kind of self-grasping or self-instituting, a self which is self-instituted, then we sort of separate out when bad things are said or done, there's a response of anger in relation to ourselves, but not into others, but not when it happens to others. So it's clear that it's based on this strong sense of a self-instituted I and a self-instituted other. And there's a big, in terms of the attachment to those two categories, there's a big gap or difference in the basis for which attachment arises. Now, if we were able to take away that reason or that sense of self-instituting I and self-instituted or solid concrete kind of self and solid concrete kind of others, and we took that away, then the reason would just become the same, and then there would be no if it's suitable to get angry because someone says bad words to you, it would also become just as suitable to get angry when bad words are said to others. So we would have to, so if you accept the thesis without this kind of without this kind of perspective of the it's a solid concrete I and others, then if you accept the reason in relation to yourself, then you're going to have to accept the reason in relation to someone saying unpleasant things to others, and therefore you would have to get angry when someone says unpleasant things to others. So there's almost like this sense of our right to get angry in relation to ourselves, but not in terms of others. But if you take away this perspective of a sort of concrete I and others, then the reason is exactly, the reason is then becomes a kind of playing field is leveled, and the reason becomes almost without that strong sense of concrete I and others, then the reasons are exactly the same, and whatever you have to accept in relation to yourself, you would have to accept the reason that you get angry when bad things are also said in relation to others. So the reason is basically exactly the same when you take that away.
So this way of thinking is kind of on the ultimate truth. But now, if we take this on the part of conventional truth, then Shantideva here, we have to add a little bit more here. 제장가 따디 갈도스나 단다디 단담을 쥐베 토네 아니 삼당당체 봐. 다 수수 셈데 정보 로소르 민니비 금센티체 단담도 안 돼. 다 군수부터 안에 삼로당에 디 가르도스라베나 제장가 다 생기랑을야 아니 미니버스 쥐바스네다 통중 딱 바크도라빈 통중체니 소소마가 버체에 좀 젠텔이야 반늘린 치기유스 년년에 마체나 아니 알이야 땡딩이 가부치 년당 아니야 대바치니 라마이다 다 지기 기지에다 다 기겐들이나 알 대바치니 내가 지기 디제 멤버이나 양 알아 가부치 년도 알이 이지라 봐 이지라 안을 하고도 코란주 디체비나 가서 우리 대바 냠도 그랬어. 뒤tum쟁고 그랬어. 근데 임베이나 제스심부시발하기야 저바당하지. 접시 제스심부시발하 코란 냠내는 거 위에 급지선으로 딴 것도 와 당나는 것도 와. 그래서나 제장가 신기 아니 신라 파 초아지고 좀 전에 랑기 랑 가서래 랑라 민념부 제베이나 랑라야 가미치니도 저기 아니 대바 아니 매버 차도 그래스 다바이나 아니 대장스 신라 대비 개원 넘버 치비치로 다 좀전 다가라로 거기 양 코랑기 양 너버 제베기 게임 제벌 때니 거기 아니 개원 냠두고도 왔어. 제상가 좋아지는 지금도 왔어. 콜이야 가서 그래 다 미세베 로게는 지금도 왔어. 서버 땡고도 왔어지. 그래도가 현대 민인 저벌랑에 그 아니 대신 지디 처음이지. 다 거기 미션발로 두잘라비나 아니 거기 계속 돌아두고도 시즌 저랑 콘도 사고 그러 봤어. 원해잖아. 좀 찍어라도 왔어. 인인지문도 아주 좀 초 찍어만도 지금 초 타다를 켜보면 있나 안티 고도스다. 좀 쉬어라. 봐야 됩시. 아주 좀 상황을 좀 초그려 봐. 좀 다를 켜보면 이제도 세상아. 디 인인지문도 와. 디 아주 좀 다행이지. 올라 소다들이야.现在民主问题就出面解释大地不都的钱人的下下的。
So in terms of and so here that was when we were discussing there in terms of you know, the sort of self-instituting, or the different categories of I and other, and some concrete sense of I and others, then that's really looking at it through the perspective of the kind of ultimate, and it sort of creates a kind of sense of unbiasedness through the kind of the thinking through the ultimate, on the ultimate level, but also yes, she will. Shantideva is going to give us reasons on a kind of conventional way of looking at this. Also, that when others say unpleasant things, you know, speak badly of us, say unpleasant things about us, don't give us respect, or very important, sort of looking down on us, then. And there's that sense of how we wish to retaliate, and then we so when she chanted song about nanzula susuki lama dan susuki gegen the sopa dinzu konzu nanzula dewa yuba de dewa
신기 니에 콜을 늘린 최고의 dumzen 가르치는 스나 디도와 당고 게디 심진 냠치베스 봐 게디니베 바제 쳐발라 초미 리장스 미년버 줘발라 랑라 데비 심진 디냠버 치도스 다 소소리아 통중체비나 엔년lerle 마치랑 치레 가전스나 알이야 가미신이 알레 테바친인기 알이야 가부친이 미두족이 아는 알이야 대바도 냠도로 봤을라나 아니 그게 라운드 네버 쳐봐다 셴르 네버 쳐봐 미스수르지기네 귤이야 대반 냠바 통인데 그 대바사 이 가서 그랬다 계자 냠바 통인데 인케란에 리미스베도 찌기도 있어 찌기미도 왔어
그래
가전에서는 계란 찌고를 제시했어 계란기 저디 수키용 것도 와 제생각이
And so here when we sort of think that it's, you know, maybe it's suitable, so it says in the lines of the first two lines of 62, where it says, surely I should be angry with those who say unpleasant things that weaken other beings, and then in brackets confidence in me, or faith, or trust in me is actually how I'd like to say it. And so in Gyaltsab J's commentary on this, on the first two lines of this, it says, so the argument is, though it is unsuitable to become angry at the obstacles to gain, I shall be angry at those who speak unpleasantly to me, as it degenerates the faith of my faithful. So literally, it's what you know, those who like us, who have faith in us, who trust us, then surely their faith will, you know, their faith will decline if I don't respond with anger, if I don't retaliate, then surely their faith will decline. And then but the answer to this is that so why don't you get so the answer is that if you get angry because of so you're the reason, the way that we're taking these reasons is not we're always taking these reasons so that we take them in a very biased way. We're not using the reasons in a sense where we're always kind of focusing on only on on the situation in relation to ourselves, and we're not actually the reasons. We're not taking in the sort of debate system the sort of pervasion of the reason, so that we have a kind of bias towards applying them only in certain situations and not applying them in others. Got a rimshid collect sixteen iba the shenna min and jiba the land area marabe or cassette not distraction with the gonda cassette Susuki di land jabina and in a condo rigores kanasana shembadinzuki deba nyamdugres and he land kare ratu lendi
di len karasana ta shenle minin jobalang shoes ta sosolia dilamna tira lendi de gudus ta dumzen karasana konzugi 아니 대반 냠죽도 왔어. 얘네는 제고 좀 진디 대반 냠죽도 제장에 걸 좋아지고 좀 진디 람나스. 아니 그게 미션발라 카당베가래. 또 소소를 이메지. 미션을야 아니 두자라바다. 초 아니 그게 청년 죄발로 소바데. 내 친구도 에 콘도사도 왔어. 저랑 콘도사도 왔어. 가르진스나
아래요.
대반 냠부도 왔어. 그 대반 냠도 왔어.
네.
시기 대반 냠바 통원도 좀 비트랑 딜리기도 했어. 딜리기면도 왔어. 저장 구성 그리 보세요. 들어봐.
So then he just turns that reasoning around on ourselves. Our reason, with the way we apply these reasons, is biased. We're not applying them in all situations, and so I guess Shantideva turns this around and says, well, yeah, that's okay. When it happens in relation to yourself, you say, it's right for me to get angry because the faith in those who have faith and trust in me, that faith and trust will decline if I don't respond or don't retaliate. But then you say, well, okay, well, what about the okay, let's just take this situation in terms of others, and if someone says harmed or says bad words or does negative things to others, then do you get angry? You don't get angry, but you should get angry because those who have faith and trust in that other person, their faith would also decline, and so therefore you're applying. We call it a reason which is a kind of a reason which is kind of similarly applied. So we're taking the same kind of reasoning and applying it to a similar but different situation, but with the same reason. So he's saying that you should also get angry. You don't get angry, but you should get angry because the faith that others have in that person and the trust will decline. Because Shengi-gewa because Gyaltsogi commentary nang Shengi-gewa nyamchela tuna.
뒤에 신기계와 냠체를 토나 기 신기계와 냠체를 토나 간사시라 미니버 줘버 듬제르와 게데 긴 여가서 신기계와 냠체라스 토나스도 그 계와 냠주도 스도 니기 로마주기 알아 대바디 냠주도 슬람 듬쟁거봐 냠체라 토나스 아니 간사시라 미니버 줘버라니 교랑 아니 토고도 있어 듬쟁 가르스나 개와디 냠베치스 지거레스
소수기 알레오 파기 파르보 누바 체킨 기 개와 냠베치스 디르바
디르바 수수리야 가면치닝기 가사디 개와 건조기 대바 냠주고도 슬라베이나 다 신기 개와 냠발레 켜랑기 소소라 가부치닝기 미디기 개와 냠구도 지지게제 멤버체 신라 자와요 dum진시요 봐. 신기 대반냠 쪽도 개완냠 쪽도 슬라바이나 아니 미타가랑기 미샴발이야 두알라 두점베 아니 저랑 콘도스도 왔어. 가전스나 개완냠 바지고지 개완냠도 왔어.
And also, so there are actually two kinds of reasons which are actually going on here. In the second verse of the second lines of 62, where it says, "In the same way, and why am I not angry with people who say unpleasant things about others?" So that's as we just talked about. But in that's why I was just checking with Rinpoche, because in Gyaltsabje's commentary it reads, so the answer to that argument about why, if faith degenerates, then why don't you get angry with others? The answer to it is, if you're angry, it says in Gyaltsabje's commentary, if you're angry because of a degeneration of merit, then why do you not get angry when unpleasant words are said to another person? Here also the virtue of faith for others is generated. So there's two, in Gyaltsab's commentary, there's a slightly different, so it also brings in this sense of angry because of degeneration of merit. The merit, the Korangi nuba chekingi merit the nyamdugreya. Korang. So actually what's the argument is slightly tricky in the sense that the one who in the first lines, it's talking about the generation of faith and trust that people have in us. But actually, in Gyaltsabje's commentary, it's actually saying that also the one who is harming, the one who is sort of aggressive or harming, is actually their merit is also declining. And so it says that in relation to others, you know, if you get angry because their merit is also declining, then you, in the same way that you have to get angry because angry when somebody gets angry to someone else, you should also be angry because faith of the faith in others is degenerated or declines. Then also when you say yourself that the person who's getting angry towards you, their merit is declining, and you say that if you say it's you're angry because of that reason, then you have to apply the Gosungi Rigpa, the same kind of reason to yourself, and say that you should also get angry when somebody says bad words to other people, because the person who's saying the bad words or causing the harm merit is also declining in that situation. So the two situations are essentially the same. So there are two slightly different reasons being used there. That's why I was just kind of checking with Rinpoche.
So maybe some of you are kind of confused here. You must get confused for sure. This is not something very new. This is not because it's a Bodhisattva's way of life. That's what we are talking about. So that means we have to put our feet in the Bodhisattva's shoes. Otherwise, we cannot feel this kind of way. So here, when this kind of debate system, what is confusing for us, why it's confusing for us is here it talks of the language of Dakshinyamba tone.
Exchanging, equalizing and exchanging yourself.
Equalizing, exchanging. We are not talking about here exchanging. Here we are talking about equalizing. Dakshinyamdangdi. Rang jumjendu chini. Rang jumjendu chini. Ani gewa nyamba yine. Gewa nyambu tu slaviyata. Ani gewa nyamdangdi rang za chimbure rang ge chimbu yimba tyongdu chenju semba jilina o lamsang lo ma debjili. Rang zolina di yimbarba. chenju semba jilina di lamsang chidenchi gejechi. 당 안줄로 단다디 켜버 첨부 통구요 디 구중르고 노트말 가전선 찍디 나래 찍는 신해레스람 디어바 어따디 아주 그냥 구중 따다 줘야 삼부대라 땅이 된지 주변의 신 시도 타직도 신식이 나세 지다 신시도 배 타직도 봐 고사 필요 여바지 통단디 아주 또 지기 큰용부서 투에 찍겠다. 답식 나도 쉬우 제고 왔다. 어디지 공부시 쇼스 드링키는 줘.
Yeah. And so here it's you know, it's always in terms of we're always sort of taking these in terms of the, you know, in terms of the reasons in relation to ourselves, and in terms of how we sort of and this is really connected with our sense of our own kind of self-importance or something like that, so that we you know, we are sort of taking it for sure. We feel like that when these situations. So in terms of the virtue here discussed, they're going to gewa nyamba sayedigi mi shemba dinzuki nanzo de dewa yerbe mi dinzuki dewa magena gewa namba dirbe.
gewa nyambu도 uslana rangla tenche rangla dujalana shengi gewa nyambu도 shengi ngalo madebe charu re.
Leo
줌제디 임베이나 아니 미션바티기 미션바지라 카당베이나 코티 뒤양 코기 대반냠 두고요. 저랑 콘도사도 봐야지. 주변이 봐.
네. Did get when Yamba said digi deba yerkin digi deba meba cha.
어디로 줌제디 당불로.
Yeah. So the way that the virtue declines is in the sense that if we're saying it's okay for me to get angry when somebody says bad things to me, because people who have faith or trust in me, their faith and trust will decline. So therefore, the kind of merit of them having faith and trust in me, the merit also declines. And so we say in relation to ourselves, because we have this very strong sense of self-importance, that for sure, it's okay to get angry because the merit is the merit is declining in the people who have trust and faith. So, but then you have to just turn that reason around and point to people saying bad things or unpleasant things to others. People who have faith in the others, faith and trust in the others, their faith and trust will decline. So therefore, merit declines, and therefore you should see. The difference. But for people like ourselves, we just don't see this. We don't see. We see it as a big, the big difference between oneself and a kind of strong sense of oneself as being like, here and others being over there, a strong kind of concrete difference between ourselves and others. And therefore, it's very difficult for us to apply these kinds of these kind of reasons of kind of similar manner. So we apply them only to ourselves, but we don't apply them to others. For the bodhisattvas, so we see a big difference between oneself and others, whereas for the bodhisattvas, that's not the case. And what's causing us the problem here is our single pointed grip on the kind of grasping at the self, the self-instituted, or is a kind of the strong sense of self-grasping, which causes us to be unable to apply these kind of reasons in kind of unbiasedly in all situations. And so that's the sort of this is the kind of arena in which we have to really sort of train ourselves to loosen those things up, is to be able to bring in these reasons and slowly work on loosening all of this kind of grasping and differentiation between oneself and others.
So now your homework for the rest of the Sakadawa. Just kidding. So this very important to think. Most people, when we feel like there's a way to get out of the samsara, then we feel like if there is a way to get out of the suffering, and particularly this suffering, that suffering, and the whole one kind of suffering that the samsara thing, you can get out from there, you immediately have so much kind of enthusiastic or strength or to overcome this. But somehow when we feel, we can say you have the power to overcome all the suffering of the other sentient beings. And then you feel kind of maybe this could be none of my business. Here, check this self-cherishing mind. This self-cherishing mind, 제장가 딘디인다. 제장가 딘디기 아니 랑자신부 지야지당 아니 신 시두 예발 토야게 로디. 그러와 신 시두 예발 토야 로다 랑 시두 제부체 삼로디 나라 아니 당매기 된 통에 아니 랑당 신세디 다신 냠배치 삼로 당토야지 냠야 다 지불로세야디 달하섬 고르와 하섬 레야라 아니 산지기 윤데 삼지미제부터 하모거나 아니 아주 다신 제ek samako ko mares ta di redu remidu Any gerando sagada wearing lata, yang se 공부 싫어나.
Okay, so so please, over the course of the month of Sakadawa, please think about this kind of way of thinking about things. And in this, so in terms of ourselves, we always see ourselves. We have this mind which sees ourselves of great importance, and we kind of dismiss or put aside others. This is a kind of sort of natural state of ours, but analyzing into that and kind of investigating that. I wonder whether sort of the meaning of selflessness would how would the meaning of selflessness help us in the equalizing of self and others? So using using the meaning of selflessness to help us to equalize self and others. But then in terms of when we talk about equalizing an exchange of self and others in developing bodhicitta, then for the exchange part of that, then I wonder whether what's really required there is a kind of special altruistic, the mind of special altruistic intent. And in order to get the mind of special altruistic intent, then we have to have some conception of the inconceivable qualities of the Buddha. So maybe if you can take this and sort of, contemplate that throughout Sakadawa, that might be a very productive thing to do.
Okay, thank you very much. So dedication.
I'll put that in the group. I'll put it in the group. I'll write it down and put it in the group.
Thank you very much. Okay. So 전부 준비라 is here. Okay, 전부 준비라. Please do the dedication. Unmute.
Okay, so can you see that?
You can see like this.
Having thoroughly investigated in accord with all that I've heard, day and night through the four reasonings, mind born of reflection on these topics of contemplation, may this discernment sever all doubts. In a land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. So now I've made a mistake here.
You on Chambala, you look at the screen. It's on the screen now.
Oh, it's on the screen now. Okay.
No, it's gone.
Sorry. This is the next one. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities of the grounds and paths, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. I fully dedicate all these virtues to be able to train just like the hero Manjushri who knows reality, and just like Samantabhadra as well. Oh, it's happened again. Sorry. This is the first time I've done this. The next one, if I can delete that somehow. Sorry, let me share. And then the last two prayers. I fully dedicate all my roots of virtue with their dedication praised as the best by all the gone beyond victorious ones of the three times in order to have good conduct. With my heart going out with great compassion, whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid.
Okay.
Sorry, Rinpoche, I'll try and improve that next time.
It's fine. Okay, thank you very much. And please keep praying for the people who are really, really suffering. this pandemic and the war it's going on, so world is going a bit of crazy. So we have to be strong for the people who are really suffering. So keep these people in our mind, and then this life, next life, whenever meet, that we can help directly, that we can help them directly. Okay, so keep them in your mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you.